I think this chapter of Wano was needed. Like, just giving us the backstory of Wano and the history of Wano was a beautiful thing to see. Going into this flashback, a lot of people were apprehensive. When I say a lot of people that I've seen in the comments section, in regards to the Oden backstory, where I felt like it was apt and appropriate based on what Oda has been telling us about Oden. But people were a bit apprehensive because they felt like we were getting too much of Oden, which I felt like we had to. Like, based on the person that Oda was telling us Oden was, he needs to establish Oden as a character, other than through the eyes of other people. Of course, that's how this chapter started off, by telling us the things that Oden did or his exploits via other means. But we also got to see some things firsthand, which was beautiful. But before we get to that, let's talk about the cover page, which Capone, he's still searching for Lola in Dressrosa, and then he's mistaken two women for Lola and Chiffon, and that's pretty much the cover story. What I liked about the cover story though, or the cover, well, yeah, the cover story, was pretty much the background, the statue. And with this statue, seeing Lucy, Kiros, and Usopp, it tells a story. Because one, for Usopp being God Usopp and everything that transpired because of that, and in Dressrosa, remember Usopp had a crazy bounty that Doflamingo put on his head. Lucy as well is pretty symbolic because Lucy is an embodiment of Sabo and Luffy. They both accomplished things as Lucy. So Lucy being there at the place where Sabo inherited Ace's will, in some sense, is great. Kiros as well, we know his history in Dressrosa, so I think it's a perfect statue, or perfect statues together, and it tells a story. Like, if you know the history of Dressrosa, like say you're a citizen and you know the history of Dressrosa, seeing those three statues should make you very happy. Really enjoyed the cover story. But really, to the chapter, I feel like it was good. It really gave us Wano. Right? It gave us the history of Wano, and it gave us just how Wano was back then. First off, we saw young Suru. Suru, of course, we know now is Kinemon's wife, but we see back then their relationship in which Kinemon was stealing from Suru. And Kinemon back then, he was just a Yakuza thug, like a regular Yakuza thug, but they had a good relationship, and it seems like their relationship obviously predates what we're seeing right now. And again, this is 41 years ago, and I'm going to talk about later why 41 years ago makes sense and why Oda did that. But I think this chapter should be viewed differently. This is Oda introducing a storyline. In a way, as I've said before, Oden is a main character who passed away, and the Scabbards, they're his crew who are trying to rally together to avenge their fallen hero. Oden has been built up as a hero and as somebody that was very polarizing. He attracted the likes again of Whitebeard, Roger, Shanks. They were smitten by him. Like, they really loved Oden. It's almost a different story. It almost feels like a prequel. The main character isn't Luffy this time, obviously. It's Oden. Oda is going out of his way to establish side characters, story, backstory, just how impressive this character is, to not only make us care about him, but to put things in perspective for the real-time viewer. When I say real-time viewer, the real timeline in regards to the Scabbards avenging his death. Some things that were established. One, Oden really wanted to leave Wano. In real time, when Oden is now 18 and Sukiyaki is getting a breakdown of all the things Oden has done, it was his 38th attempt to illegally leave the country. Oden is impressive, just off of things he did as a child. One, when he was a baby, when he was less than a year old, he flung his wet nurse across the room. As a kid, he was a monster. By age 2, he was catching rabbits with his bare hands. By age 4, he was able to throw a large boulder at a bear and crush it to death. At age 6, he was roaming the red light district and wasting royal funds on frivolities. We've had impressive kids before in the story, and with Big Mom, and of course, and Katakuri as well, in which he came out of Big Mom. That's what they said. Walking or standing up. Oden just basically blew all of these out of the window. Of course, a Big Mom, she decimated an entire giant village as a child. So I think she's slightly still higher than Oden, but barely, because we're not done. By age 8, he was getting drunk and starting fights with gamblers. By 9, even the Yakuza blacklisted him and banned him from entering the casino. Listen, 9 years old. Then he started a whole war with the casino because he set the casino on fire. And in all of these feats, it makes sense because he went into Kuri, took on the strongest person, even though it was a lawless area, turned it into his own territory. They're insinuating that he's truly a member of the Kozuki family, like this is something that's inherited, this is expected of him. But they did also offer some characterization in which he did all these things, right? After going into the quarry and then worked his way up and changed the place. They mentioned that at 14 years old, when the capital was experiencing a prolonged drought, he diverted the river straight to the capital. I'm like, what? How do you divert the river to the capital? But anyway, I think what they're pointing out here is that he was trying to help. He was trying to make things work for the people. In the midst of all the things that he did, as far as it seemed obnoxious and him being just a boisterous kid, at that moment, he was doing things for others and doing things because he cared. And this chapter also went out of its way to point out Oden's just charisma and how he formed a harem at 15, and he would kidnap women from the capital, but then they would stay at their own free will. And there was even a harem revolt in which people, of course, the wives or the husbands and the boyfriends or whatever of these people that, or these women that are with him, they came back for their loved ones. And it was like a whole, like I said, a harem revolt. Like, it's almost unbelievable the type of person Oden was, but when you know everything that happened in the future, it puts a lot of things in perspective. And well, that makes sense based on how smitten these people were of Oden. We see Sukiyaki actually disowning him, and I mentioned this in my live reaction that it's a cultural thing. In Western culture, like if your son is something like Oden, you're pretty proud because he's being a man's man and he's going around kicking butt and taking names. In Japanese culture, this is dishonorable, and this led to Sukiyaki disowning Oden. There was some Kinemon hype. Kinemon was trying to cash in on this board, the white board that we talked about, that we saw, throughout this chapter. And then Hyogoro, who is one of the bosses of the capital, Hyogoro the Flower. And that's the same old man Hyo that we see in real time. But he mentions that he would tell his men to try to capture Kinemon, but in a one-on-one fight, they wouldn't stand a chance. This is hard to scale because we're not sure how strong the men beneath Hyogoro is. We don't know how strong Hyogoro is or was in his prime, but he was saying in a one-on-one fight, Kinemon would basically destroy them. Some hype, but we just gotta wait and see. One of the more interesting things is seeing this character, Dendro, and Dendro was introduced to us in this prequel side story as opposed to real time, and I think this is pretty brilliant by Oda by giving us this character and giving us a sword that looks like Wado Ichimonji and giving us a look that seems very similar to Koshiro to make us speculate. People were also saying that, well, he could be Scopper Gaban. We know nothing about Scopper Gaban. We don't know his age, where he went, where he is, how strong he was. So for speculating that he's Scopper Gaban, it's like we can't say you're wrong because we know nothing about him. But again, the Koshiro thing, there's a lot more to it and it makes a lot more sense. Well, first off, we know that Koshiro obviously has ties to Wano. He lives in Shimotsuki village. We know Shimotsuki was established in Wano. We know his dad left Wano 51 years ago. This is 41 years ago, and it looks like this person, whomever he is, well, Dendro obviously, or who he is real time, he looks like at this moment he's around 10 years old. If his dad left 10 years ago, then of course he would be an orphan. But where does it make sense in regards to him leaving Wano himself? We know Dendro was a part of Oden's scabbards. So when did he leave and go to Shimotsuki village? It's a lot of speculation. I'm okay with people saying it's Koshiro. People are still saying that Dendro could be Kiyoshiro. I think we gotta wait and see, but Oda did this perfectly to let us speculate as to who the hell Dendro is. So we're gonna hear speculations until Dendro is actually revealed, and I love where this storyline is going because it's really interesting. Again, Oden is a man's man. Everything about this chapter was establishing just how amazing he is. Like there was a funeral. Oden then proceeds to fry Oden on the fire that burnt the body of the person that died. And it's also funny because after he did everything, he then said condolences to the family. So for him, he was having his last drink with the person and even said, the next time we drink, it'll be in the afterlife. So that was him showing his condolences to the family, but in a manly way. So again, the story goes out of its way to tell you that Oden is a man's man. They sent people to capture him, and he's just there casually saying, well, did you guys come to capture me? And they're well like, yeah, but can you just come with us? It's just like Oden is being built up as a character that does whatever he wants. He's strong, he's brave, he's almost an anomaly. Just seeing him and how he walks, from how he conducts himself, people were smitten. From the women, just seeing him one time in the capital, just seeing him eat Oden, they're just blown away. The chapter pretty much ends with Oden asking for the boar because he overheard Kinemon's and Denjiro's story. More than likely what Oden is going to do here is to hold the boar and draw the mountain god to him and use Conqueror's Haki, and then tame the mountain god, and then therefore you'll have a follower forever. Now, people are saying that the mountain god could be one of Kaido's numbers, just due to the size, and say you gave this animal a smile or whatever, what could come of it? Maybe, I don't know. And then also the white gold that was mentioned, and that's what they were going to trade the white boar for. People are saying, well, there could be actual white gold that we haven't seen yet. I was saying that the white gold could be sea stone. Let me know what you think about that. Like, what do you think? Do you think there's actual white gold? Which is possible for sure, but I was thinking, could it actually be sea stone, knowing how valuable sea stone is at this point? I wonder if that's what they're calling white gold. White gold does exist in the real world, so it could be a thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, the chapter was establishing Oden. I love Oden. Even my live reaction. The title is Sign Me Up to Be a Part of the Harem. I think he's amazing, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Once we get into the crux of why Kinemon started following him, why the others started following him versus Ashura Doji to liberate Kuri, it's going to be spectacular. So guys, leave your thoughts below. What did you think of the chapter? What are your thoughts on Oden now? Did it change? Do you love Oden more? Are you just still like, meh, Oden's fine, I guess. Let's just see how the backstory goes. But I love it. I love where it's going. I'm excited for the next chapter. Again, this is a somewhat of an origin story of one of the most hyped characters in One Piece history. If you don't understand that Oden's special before, backstory and the things he accomplished as a child should definitely sway you. All right, so leave your thoughts below. Again, like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce, follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.